Radio Show with your host, Lonnie Clark. We stand together and accept that we now live in a world transformed by Fukushima. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on UCY.TV Radio. We relentlessly engage every ear that listens. We expose and confront the complete lack of accountability for the nuclear industry. Consider social engineering programs who view our bodies, minds, and souls as assets on a balance sheet. We discuss vital current issues, interview activists, and engage our audience in an effort to allow all voices to be heard. The Age of Fission Radio Show creates a venue that all will choose. We encourage our listeners to reclaim their power and their courage to take action and save our planet from the ravages of greed and indifference. Our actions matter. Every voice matters. We remind our listeners that happiness is resistance. Love is greater than fear. Good morning, UCY.TV radio listeners. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Fission Radio Show. Today is January 23rd, 2017, 8 o'clock in the morning here in the Pacific Coast. So today I was supposed to interview Dawn Chapman, and I did not get in touch with her, so I have no idea what happened. I did send her and text her my call-in information in case she wants to. That would be great. But in fact, in that vein, what I'm going to do is open up the lines if anybody wants to call in. The number is 718-717-8106. I hope this sounds a lot better to you. My son-in-law gifted me a microphone. I desperately needed one. So thank you, Junior. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about St. Louis, and I'm going to be talking about other things that have been happening. Since I have the venue, I will. You know, we went to the Saturday March on Saturday. I was out there. For Eugene, Oregon, there was about 10,000 people. The newspaper reported 7,000, but there was actually more than 7,000 people. The police officers told the organizer there was 10,000. So maybe they scaled it down a bit. Maybe they just wanted to be a little bit on the conservative side. Since we know those conservatives won, the first thing our conservative president did was take away people's home insurance mortgage interest deductions. Bye-bye, $300. The Four Agreements is a book I talk about a lot. I found it probably in the mid-90s. My neighbors gave it to me. It is based on Toltec technology or philosophy, I guess. It's 4 simple rules, and it's not just something, it's not a book that you read. It really is it's a philosophy that you use in your life. And if you go by these 4 agreements, your life will dramatically change for the better because we're living out of harmony with who we are. That's why the hostility and the anger, because people, they don't have any guideposts. If you ask me, the Bible is a very poor guidepost. It's got contradictions all over the place, and it's so male-based, it's unbelievable. Like, there's just the other half of the species doesn't count as much. The number 1 agreement is be impeccable with your word. The first agreement. Speak with integrity, say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Don't we wish our president had read that before they opened up their selfish, snotty little mouths this weekend? I mean, honestly, The pictures spoke for themselves, folks. We have a president whose first act in office was to lie to us. And then what was his second act? What's his second act that he's been saying? I'm going to release my tax returns. I'm going to release my tax returns. What they find out today, that we're not releasing the tax returns, folks, because he doesn't want us to see that, he is grotesquely engaged in business with people who are not our friends. And he probably doesn't have near the money that he says he does. This is not a good presidency. I don't know how people can feel good about this guy already. But is that gossip? I don't know. I'm going to call the president and tell him those opinions. I'm telling him directly to his face. Speaking of talking out today, anybody living in a Republican state absolutely must speak out. Early this morning, as soon as this radio show is over, call your elected representative, really Jeff Sessions' state. Call around all those, any of those Republican states, Texas. If you call in Arizona, John McCain, and tell them, no, we're not voting for Pete Tillerson, and we're not voting for Betsy DeVos, and we're not voting for Rick Perry. Rick Perry had a vested interest in nuclear waste until December, folks. He was the chairman of the board of a nuclear waste company, which, as we know, it isn't really nuclear waste. It's nuclear trash, and all they do is spill it. He's made billions of dollars, millions of dollars off of the United States government. And now I think that's maybe they're thinking, well, let's just put the guy who's running, since nuclear industry is going to really be about nuclear waste, let's let the person who's been running a nuclear waste plant, been on the chairman of the board, run it all. I don't think so. And I think everybody out there ought to be saying no to those people, for sure. And Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon, for God's sake. You want him to run the housing department. Right. Look, I'm not a person who ever took housing or food stamps, but I know many people who are living on housing and on food stamps, and they would be desperately in the street. They have no other means of support. We're sending Israel how much a day? How much are we giving to Japan for their military? It is time for us to really take care of our people and say no to these goons that wanted these illiterate. None of them have a higher education except for Ben Carson. And Chow, the lady who's going to run the transportation department, really? She's Mitch McConnell's wife. Talk about revolving door. So, okay, first agreement. Be true to your word. Be impeccable with your word. The second agreement, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What you say or do is a projection of what they say or do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to their opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. And that is definitely it. Just don't take it personally. That one's hard to shake off, especially when you're maliciously attacked, directly attacked. Wasn't that kind of Trump to tweet out this morning that he understands people's right to protest and speak out, even though he disagrees with us? How kind of him. Maybe he has read at least the Bill of Rights, right? Maybe he has read those 10. I wonder if he's even read the Constitution. Well, here we go. Don't make assumptions. I guess I'm going to have to ask him. I think I'll ask him when I call the White House. Has the president read the Constitution? Sure doesn't sound like it to me. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you will completely transform your life. And that is where I apologize to you people. I did not follow up and call Dawn soon enough to make sure she was on this morning. And I will pursue that and correct the errors of my ways and double check with people a little bit better.
And I can't really say I need a secretary because I haven't really been slamming busy, but it slipped my mind. So my apologies to you, but she will be back with us, I'm sure. And the fourth agreement, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to when you are sick. Under any circumstances, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Now, this book, I don't think the whole book is 200 pages, to be honest. It's a small book. I seriously recommend people getting this book and studying it. Because if we could live by the four agreements, I don't know, we can get, it helps me get through it. Helped me got through the Bush years. We're living the shock doctrine, folks. That's really the bottom line. On my interview Friday with Carl, he talked about his book, Poison Conspiracy. And the Poison Conspiracy is an old book. You can buy it like on Amazon used or something, like $3 or $4 or $5. And it's a compilation of testimony about the toxins that are in our food. Let's talk about this. I just opened it up, just in the middle of the act. Okay. During the New Deal, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt backed reforms in the Pure Food and Drugs Act, and for 5 years battled intense industry pressure under the Food Administration and Cosmetic Act of 1938 was passed. It stands today with amendments as the basic law intended to provide pure food in America, but it was, like the 1906 legislation, also turned into be flawed, no doubt. This law, for instance, provided exemptions for poisons added to food if the toxins were deemed, quote, unavoidable, unquote, or, quote, necessary in production, unquote. Wow, so if they had to use arsenic and they had to have some in the food, I guess you got some arsenic. There was nothing to require proof of what was put into the foods and to make sure that the food was safe. Wow. So it goes on, and this is what they're going to gut. They're going to gut all of these unnecessary regulations. That was his other act besides taking away your deduction for your mortgage interest insurance deduction. He halted all new regulations for the EPA. No more, we don't need those unnecessary regulations. Who cares if a few people die? They already do it already. I'm reading this oral history of Dr. John Goffman, 10,000 kids. They do it all the time. The study is called Human Radiation Testing. Oral history of human radiation testing. So they do it all the time. Wow. So the phone number, if anybody wants to call in, is 718-717-8106. And I am going to read to you some of these things that I pulled out before the show. I had a feeling that Dawn was not going to be available. She's a single mother. She's the moms for STL, and they're doing hearings. She told me there was good news that they think some people are going to be helped and bought out, but nothing's firm yet. How kind of the government to help them, right? This is so outrageous. The Westlake landfill pages. This is the sad part about it all, folks. It is not getting better. Wednesday, July 31st, 1968. Let me just pull out this page for you, and I'll just show you what it says, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They haven't done jack. Okay, the landfill at the Westlake Quarry and Material on Tausig Road in Bridgeton serves the North County. The Westlake landfill, however, concentrates of industrial waste, mainly packing material, from North County and North City and County heavy industry. Much of the waste from the North County used to be hauled in Madison County in Illinois. However, residents objected and Illinois and Madison counties are attempting to stop the importing of refuse. You know what that means? The Westlake, now this newspaper was 1968, long after they had buried that nuclear material there. There is no conversation about this. And what they're attempting to do is import it into Illinois and Madison County. And I guarantee you did. Remember when Dawn was on the show before and she said the worst part was you could go to the landfill and get dirt for your garden, so we don't even know how far it has spread. This is a crime against humanity, the complete disregard. And for you who are living in Republican-run states with Republican senators, you ought to be finding their numbers and knowing their numbers and keeping them on your desk, because we need you to tell them no. We are not going to accept Rick Perry as the Department of the Energy. That's not acceptable. Rick Perry is not an acceptable person. He barely got a Bachelor's of Arts Science. He got, in animal science, he has a Bachelor's of Arts degree. That's it. I'm going to look up John Cornyn's number, because John Cornyn is your senator in Texas, and you need to call him and tell him no. He is right in there. They are going to rubber stamp these people, but you ought to not allow it to happen just like that. It's completely ridiculous. Even if you know they're going to vote for him anyways, call up and object, so they hear the numbers. 202-224-2934. And I hope people in Texas will call. That's the number to John Cornyn's office. And I know Rick Perry's a Texan, not likely going to vote against him. But guess what? You're his constituent. And you have a right to say no to Rick Perry. Look at the harm he's caused your own state. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree in animal sciences, and we are going to appoint this man to run the Department of Energy. It is time for people to object. John Cornyn's number is 202-224-2934. And say no to Rick Perry. At least Rick Perry. I mean, for goodness sakes, their entire... I don't remember who the other senator is. Oh, I think you guys have Cruz, isn't he? Ted Cruz. What's his name? What's his other senator? I'm just going to type in other senator from Texas, because I don't remember your other senator's name. John Cornyn and who? Who else? Ted Cruz, I guess. I guess I was right. It was Ted Cruz. Let's see what they tell us. Pops up first, John Cornyn, because he is the preeminent, he's the master, he is the senior senator since 2002. And you guys keep voting John Cornyn in as your senator. I don't get it, how you can keep that guy. He has done nothing good for Texas, if you ask me. And Ted Cruz, call Ted Cruz up. Let's get Ted Cruz's phone number going on here so that you guys can have his number. Tell them no, we do not want Rick Perry, and we do not want Rex Tillerson. I mean, it is outrageous that Rex Tillerson is going to become our Secretary of State. He was shaking hands with Putin a few years ago, closing the deal on the Exxon pipeline. They want to build all over there. They're going to be extracting oil out of Exxon, and Exxon will make billions of dollars, as will any of the senators who vote for this deal. His Washington office is 202-224-5922. Please call his office. It is outrageous that Texans are not stopping these people. Wow. They have been putting toxins in our water, into our air. They're spraying us with chemtrails. It's complete disregard. We now make depleted uranium weapons in the United States and sell them to other countries. and we use them. We give them to our soldiers to use. This is why we prefer to drop drones, because we don't want to be on the field of the bombs that we're dropping right now, because they cause birth defects and long-term negative effects on the population and the environment. Oh, I just heard a noise. I'm going to talk to Jules and see if she thinks I'm still here. That is so outrageous. I do not get it. You know how many people there were in the streets of Eugene, Oregon on Saturday? There was 10,000. Where are all these women? What are they? And it wasn't just women, it was men. It was women, men, children. Families came out saying, we're not taking it. But I hope to God they are calling and they're going to stop these nominees. These cabinet pigs are the worst. It's an outrage that they're getting rubber stamped. Hold on, I'm sending Jules a little message. Okay, so I'm going to keep going, you guys. Evidently, it sounds good. I heard a weird noise. That's what happened. All of a sudden, I heard a noise pop up. I don't know if you guys heard it. The Trump administration is not our friend. They're conditioning us to accept their lies. The first weekend, they come out and said, black is white. We had more people at our inauguration than any other time in history. Not true. In fact, the people that showed up for the march in Washington was probably 3 times the size. And in every city, people turned out spontaneously. It wasn't some big George Soros, we're going to sponsor this, like overthrow of the establishment. We're trying to threaten Trump. No. It's spontaneous. People were turning out because they're like, yeah, we're having a march because these people are attacking us. And what did he do? First thing, took away your insurance deduction for your home mortgage insurance premium. It was an insurance premium on your home mortgage that you're required to carry. A law was passed a few years ago that said you could take that on your Schedule A and deduct it. He took that away first thing. And again, even the lies of the media. I watched it that whole day. He was signing away. They're like, oh, these are just documents to protect his wife. That's what they said on television. They're just documents to protect his wife. There weren't any real documents that had any real massive change. I guess he did that behind closed doors, right? It's so outrageous. They come out swinging about the media lying about how many people are out there. And then we hear yesterday, we had all our alternative facts. And no, we're not giving you the tax returns. There is litigation. There's people suing him. There's going to be big lawsuits. This guy's going to be tied up with lawsuits in the court. And then guess what? We're going to have Mike Pence as president, folks. Then you can pat yourself on the back for bringing the American Taliban right to your front door. I hope people get active because this is outrageous. I'm angry at Americans for being so dumb. And they're like, oh, well, give him a chance. Really? We're going to give a guy who is grotesque a chance? Like, what's that big slobbery thing from Star Wars? I forget his name. He was that big fat slobbery thing. Ugh. That's what Trump reminds me of because he's like that. He has no sense of, I don't know, decency. To me, he just lacks everything that looks decent. Even how he was with his children was sad. New York State Department. I'm reading you the alerts, folks. Let's see. Here's a non-emergency. New York Department of... Wow. New York State Department of Health. The licensee was not provided. I'm sorry, you don't need to know. Agreement. Medical event. Okay, somebody was given something. What happened? Oh, an infusion. They didn't get enough at some medical event. They didn't get enough of it was administered actively into each lesion and meets for reportable medical criteria. They administered the radionuclides into a person's body in the wrong way. I won't read you the gory details, but it's disgusting. This is for what date? January 12th. I thought I'd just read them all the way back. We have about 35 minutes. See if there's anything important. Fitness for duty in Volt, Georgia. Somebody got fired for alcohol. Be interesting to see what time. What time was it? 10:58 in the morning. Oops. Drunk at 10:58 in the morning. Probably not a good idea. At work at a nuclear plant. What nuclear facility was this? Doesn't tell us the licensee. Oh, it was at a power reactor. Votel, V-O-G-T-L-E, Votel in Georgia, Region 1. Unit 3 and 4. Someone was drunk. Oops, it's under construction, so I guess it wasn't that bad. Power reactor Comanche Peak in Texas. Notified by Hunter Schill. Notification date 1/11. What happened? Unanalyzed condition. Teflon found in containment spray pump components. On September 16, 2016, Comanche Park reported an unanalyzed condition and potential loss of safety function related to the installed pressure gauge diaphragm and assemblies for all 4 of the centrifugal charging pumps and both of the positive displacement charging pumps on Unit 1 and 2. On November 14th, this event was subsequently retracted. On December 12th, during the ongoing extent of condition review, Teflon was also found to be installed in the suction and discharge pressure gauge diaphragm seal assemblies of Unit 1 and 2 containment spray pumps. I wonder what that means, Teflon. Why did they do that? On January 11th, at approximately 1500 CDT, the reportable evaluation determined that reasonable assurance did not exist that the containment spray would have been able to fulfill its designed function of removing heat from the containment environment without impacting the applicable dose limits. Teflon is a restricted material normally prohibited from use in contact with reactor coolant or in radiation environments. Teflon is not radiation tolerant and degrades in a radiation environment. The Teflon used in these diaphragm seal assemblies could fail during a postulated loss of coolant accident, which could cause the containment spray pumps on Units 1 and 2 to be inoperable and exceed system leakage limits. This could challenge dose limits and implant post-accident accessibility. Oh, gee whiz. This could challenge dose limits and implant post-accident accessibility. You like how they say it would cause a meltdown? This is where I start cussing, folks. This represents an unanalyzed condition. The pressure gauges and diaphragm seals for all Units 1 and 2 containment spray pumps have been isolated, and the Unit 1 and 2 containment spray pumps are operable. The Teflon has likely existed in these diaphragm seals since initial plant licensing. Luminant Power is continuing to investigate the extent of this condition and potential repair techniques. Wow. That is at a nuclear power plant in Comanche Peak. Wow. Sorry, folks, you have the wrong stuff installed in your power plant in Texas. I did just give you the phone numbers, didn't I? Did I not give you the number for Ted Cruz? I actually think I started yapping before I found you that number. Let me go back and find it. Ted Cruz's phone number. Ted Cruz phone number. Call Mr. Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, as he likes to be called. Senator. Yes, Senator. Contact Ted Cruz. Okay. You go to his contact page and you really it's as user-friendly as nothing. Okay, I think I did give you this number. Ted Cruz's number, 202-224-5922. It's 5922. So it's 202-224-5922. That's Ted Cruz. If you live in Texas, and I know there's some people listening, Please do call Ted Cruz and tell him no to Rick Perry, even though they're buddies and they like to pat each other on the back. Say absolutely not. Tell them, hell no, we won't go. That's what I think we need to learn that phrase again, man. This is so outrageous. It's unbelievable. That was on the 12th. Well, I don't know. I kind of want to skip ahead like reading a book, right? I like to read the ending, but let me see what we can get going on here. On the 13th, this event has been retracted. This event has been retracted. This was at a hospital, non-emergency, somebody getting raped. If I don't think, oh my God. I'll spare you this one, but the patient was a female and they put it in the wrong place. Let's just put it to you that way. Oops, they do say the details on the report. I'll spare you the report, but they put it into the wrong place. Wow, that is really bad. Oh my gosh. Don't get radiation treatment, folks. That stuff, it'll just kill you. The next event on the 13th reported New York State Department of Health licensing not provided. That's probably that same one. Medical event. Same thing about a medical event. The patient was injected. The second infusion for the larger lesion was called for. Blah, blah, blah. Let's experiment. Human experimentation. And at least they do report it when it goes wrong. Colorado Department of Health, Chateau Residence Club. What? Non-emergency. What the heck is this? Tritium signs lost, of course. If you steal a stop sign, folks, you're stealing tritium. So don't touch the stop signs. I should put an ad up on Craigslist that says that. Don't steal stop signs. They contain radioactive contamination. Power reactor. Oconee, South Carolina. My niece lives there. What does it say? Oh, fitness for duty. What was he drunk on? Found in violation of fitness for duty. They don't tell us. He has been suspended. Found in violation of fitness for duty during a random fitness for duty test. So he got busted for something. Well, that's a nice way for them to say he got caught with something in his body that they didn't want him to have. Fitness, or maybe he just couldn't pass the fitness test and actually give an actual fitness test. I don't know. So we're moving on to the 17th, and it's the Chateau Residence Club. And what was this? That's the tritium sign found. Did they find it? Due to the continuous lack of information from manufacturing companies, responsible parties, and the destination of the exits to be installed, nope, they did not find it. They just need to be told that they can't figure it out. It's not there, and they're going to get new ones. All right. Okay. The Chateau Residence Club, listen to this last line. This is how they write. The Chateau Residence Club uses subcontractors for services like fire safety and lighting. Encore Electric was unaware of the regulations for tritium exit signs. Oh, that's why, because they used a subcontractor who didn't understand the regulations of installing a stop sign. That's a good excuse. Curtiss Wright Electromechanical, Westinghouse Electric, Chesapeake, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is just toast. Interim report. It was a cooling pump. What was this? This must be some type of a reactor. Part 21. This is an ongoing thing. When was the notification date? Event happened on 1/12. Casings of the reactor coolant pump. Oh my God. Wow. Okay, listen to this. The following summary was excerpted from the report provided by Curtiss Wright Electromechanical Corporation. Curtiss Wright Electromechanical Corporation has identified a condition which is currently being evaluated to determine if a significant health hazard exists in the casing for the AP1000 reactor coolant pump. The investigation is underway but will not be completed within the required 60 days from discovery as is required. The submission constitutes the interim report and the condition in accordance with the paragraph of the regulation. Casings for the AP1000 reactor coolant pump. The casings have an excess material condition in the transition region between the cast bolt and the suction nozzle. The condition is a discontinuous, a non-tangible, axial symmetric feature between the cast bolt region and the machine's suction nozzle OD. The AS belt transition feature in the casings has not been analyzed and was not included. This is really, so they're telling us that they have faulty parts again at another nuclear reactor, and they're going to tell us when. Downgraded condition at Fitzpatrick, New York. Downgraded condition due to a through wall leak. Oh my gosh, when did this happen? 114. Through wall leak. Listen to how they talk about this stuff. At 6:13 Eastern Standard Time on 114, with the unit in mode 2 at 0% power at the starting of refueling outage 22, drywall inspection identified a through wall leak on the 3/4 inch vent line on the bonnet of valve 02MOV43A reactor water recirc pump A suction isolation valve in the reactor coolant system loop inside the primary containment. This condition constitutes a defect in the primary coolant system. Wow. The event notification is being made in accordance with blah, blah, blah as a condition that results in the condition of the nuclear power plant, including its principal safety powers, being seriously degraded. Seriously degraded. Fitzpatrick, New York, folks. That happened on 114. Wow. Fuel cycle facility, uranium fuel fabrication, Hugh Fabrication and Scrap, Lynchburg, Virginia. And somebody got busted for alcohol during a random fitness test. Somebody came to work drunk. What time was that? 9:15. The event time was 9:15 Eastern Standard Time in the morning. They came to work just flat drunk. Sorry, I would too, man. Uranium fuel fabrication store. I mean, really? Why do people even work there? If everybody said we're not working for these people, we could break it down. Oh, listen to this. Pilgrim, Massachusetts, non-emergency, potential uncontrolled radiation release, accident mitigation. Event date 116. On January 16, 2017, with the reactor at 100% and the mode switch in run, Pilgrim Station was performing preventative maintenance of secondary containment isolation dampers with dampers A0N82 or AO-N-AO2, AO-N83, refueling floor supply isolation dampers, failed to fully close when the control switches were taken to close. This 8-hour non-emergency notification is being made in accordance to blah, blah, blah. Any event or condition that at the time of discovery could have prevented the fulfillment of the safety function of structures or the systems that are needed to control the release of radioactive material or mitigate consequences of an accident. The reactor building isolation dampers were cleaned and lubricated and post-work tested and timed in accordance with station procedures to verify that they had satisfactory closing times. Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station has returned the dampers to operable status. Whew, good to know they avoided an emergency. Aren't you glad we have our lives in their hands? It's so comforting to know that the NRC is looking out for us, right? So outrageous. So if anybody wants to give me a call, the number is 718-717-8106. Because I'm just going to keep going. We've got 3 more days on these emergency alerts, and probably I'm hoping that some of them will be repeats or correction of other ones. Washington Office of Radiation Protection. This is the first alert for January 18th. Seattle Cancer Care Alliance, non-emergency. What's this? Oh, this was a medical procedure that was misadministered. The patient was referred to Seattle Cancer Care Alliance. There is no way I would subject myself to any of that if I ever got cancer. No. They're not filling me with radioactive isotopes. They've already done that enough. Here's an event that's been retracted. Yay, we feel so good about it. Monticello, Minnesota. Accident mitigation. Yay, they retracted it. When did the event happen? On 12/21. Coolant injection system inoperable. Retraction on 1/17. So on December 21, NRC Operations Center was notified of event number 52454 that described a failure of the high pressure coolant injection turbine stop valve to open during post-maintenance testing prior to being declared operable. Okay, so now what's happened? The event was a result of maintenance process and would not have occurred during normal operations, so don't worry about it. It's all back in line. There was no discovered conditions that would have resulted in the safety function of this system being declared inoperable under normal non-maintenance conditions. So if they hadn't have been in maintenance mode, don't worry. The plant was in planned evolution and did not discover a condition that could have prevented performing a safety function. So don't worry, nothing to look at. Move along here. Oh, it looks like quite a few that were evented. Here's a retracted event at Peach Bottom. This event happened on 12/8. Accident mitigation. Oh, good. So there was a surveillance thing that failed. And they have completed it and had the evaluation concluded that the HTBC was degraded, but met the threshold for TS operability. So they had a HPCI. What do we think? High pressure control intake. Oh, high pressure coolant injection. Kind of the same. This is how these people work. Because criminal minds want to know, right? So don't worry, they fixed it. Agreement. So stolen then recovered licensed material. Okay, good. That was what, a Cat 3. That was a non-emergency. That happened on 1/23. Wow. New York State Department of Health. The ALC group. Somebody took some X-ray fluorescent spray. Okay, so they retracted this one. And so this is a new one today, 1/12. Notification date was 1/12. Department of Health, Whibby Environmental in Colorado. Lee is the General Lee. That's who the contractor is, General Lee. Colorado General Lee. Really? Okay. Lost gas chromatograph. So they lost something. How do you lose something? Whibby Environmental sold the business of Fanova in 2002 through a long process of trying to reach the company. Contact at Whibby, contact with Fanova was made in February of 16 after several attempts to discover what occurred with the assets of Whibby Environmental. One of the devices is being reported lost and abandoned. According to Fanova, they do not see the gas chromatograph as being on the asset balance sheet at the time of the purchase. So a company sold itself and then they lost a piece of equipment. There's a lot of lost equipment in this whole nuclear industry thing. Doesn't give us a whole lot of confidence either, does it? Utah Division of Radiation Control. Energy Fuels Resources, Inc. 1/13/2017. That's in Utah, Kanab, Utah. So what does this say? Leaking barrels containing radioactive material. So really, what else is new? Division of Waste Management and Radiation Control was notified of the event about 1500 MST on January 12th. The licensee indicated that the shipper Honeywell has notified the NRC and the United States Department of Transportation. This incident report is the initial notification of the NRC Operations Center from the DWMRC. Okay. Update. Let's see. I think update. The update will kind of give us the summary. I'll skip the initial reading. On January 12th at approximately 11:42 MST, a TAM International van carrying barrels of KOH alternative feed materials from Honeywell International arrived at the White Mesa Hills Scale House. According to Honeywell, the materials are basically uranium ore concentrates. The White Mesa employees began unloading the van, but as they began offloading some of the last barrels, they noticed that some of the barrels were leaking. From what they could tell, 3 barrels were potentially leaking. The barrels were not rusted through, but were soft and allowed liquid contained in the solid materials to leak from the barrels. The material leaked from the barrel onto a plastic sheet. However, the plastic sheet had an opening or a tear through which the material was able to pass. The radiation safety officer was notified of the event about 1300 MST. When the RSO reached the van, the employee had completed emptying the van and had, quote, cleaned the van. The RSO indicated that he was able to see visible evidence that the material had been able to leak from the van, but the area had been cleaned and no valid measurements of the sample of the materials leaked from the van were able to be taken. Oh, gee. So the guy cleaned the van before anybody came to look, so they couldn't tell how much it leaked. Good boy. Pictures were taken, and from the pictures provided to the Utah Division of Waste Management and Radiation Control, it appears that only a small quantity of liquid material was leaking from the barrels. Because the contents of the barrels were primarily solid and only contained small amounts of liquid, and the liquid contents of the barrel is that it is likely only small quantities of materials were leaking from the van. That's really good news. The weather across the nation has been fairly stormy this past night, and it is likely that small amounts of material that leaked from the van are subsequently washed away and diluted, so nobody has to feel at all worried. Thank you very much. Wow, these people are so outrageous. And I think that's your news for the day, the event notifications of the day, folks. So nobody called in. Don Chapman did not call in, and you've been listening to me read the, I don't know if I don't think I read the animal deaths, did I? This is outrageous. How many animals? It's already January. I don't think we lost like the 1 million birds that we did last January. We lost 1 million birds. Looks like who's taking the lead again? Birds again. 430 birds were killed due to the avian flu in southern Bulgaria. Don't you just love that, the avian flu? Everything's the avian flu. Nothing is ever nuclear pollution from Chernobyl or from Fukushima, which is still a mess. Oh, what? 350 birds due to the avian flu in Quilpue, Chile. So we've got 350, 430. We do have almost 1 million birds dying again in January. 5 humpback whales washed ashore in Hawaii on January 1st. Wasn't that telling? 5 humpback whales washed ashore on January 1st. That is super sad, man. I wonder what animal this hasn't been updated since the election, so I can't wait to see how many animals died on the swearing in of this president, or the swearing of this president. I don't know. I'm not at all enthusiastic about a narcissist, personality. He's got like typical narcissistic personality disorder issues. He needs a therapist desperately bad. I mean, it's really sad what's going to happen. Maybe these lawsuits will take him out, and then we'll have the American Taliban, our own Pinochet, in power for a little while. 10 dolphins died, washed up. Experts baffled in Cornwall. Wow. Experts are baffled once again in Cornwall. So outrageous. Let me go to the Westlake landfill page because I know that they have some things going on there. I'm just going to read I watched a documentary on Amazon. It's called The Safe Side of the Fence. It's about what happened in St. Louis and how the workers there was a fence where there was people able to come and look at the workers. They had picnic tables, and on the other side of the fence there were workers in high protection nuclear gear. And the whole idea that the government can say, oh, you're on the safe side of the fence, so don't worry about it. It's a chain link fence, folks. People in St. Louis are dying, not just dying, their whole sense of being out of good health. Their children are, you don't die right away, but it's so outrageous that we just allow them. Okay, so I'm going to read this. It's 8:50. I think I have a little bit of time. It's a story from the Westlake landfill page, and it is dated January 19th. As EPA stalls on Westlake landfill, Chappelle Nadal files massive home buyout bill. With the state budget facing a potential $700 million shortfall, Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal has filed legislation hoping to see the state buy north of 90 homes, totaling almost $13 million near the Westlake landfill. I mean, what's another 13? 713. The Westlake landfill has been in operation for over 50 years, yet last Wednesday, Chappelle Nadal had bill supporters who again testified saying that they might not have purchased their homes had they known about the debatable radioactivity in the landfill. It's not debatable. There is radioactivity, and there's no debate that it harms you. It harms you. It's not safe. The St. Louis region and the state have again and again demanded a solution from the government. The Environmental Protection Agency decided in 2008 that the most appropriate solution for addressing concerns about the landfill was to cap it to ensure the surrounding areas were not threatened. So in 2008, that's when they capped it. Do you get that? Up until 2008, families and people were at risk and still are. The EPA made no decision during the entire 8 years of President Barack Obama's administration, instead releasing studies that show the landfill does not present a risk to nearby homes. How could they do that? However, Chappelle Nadal has repeatedly rejected Obama's claims. The St. Louis region is running out of patience, Senator Dave Schatz said in October 2016. The time to decide what to do at the Westlake landfill is here. As a Franklin County resident, I prefer an option that puts a safe and quick end to the discussion. I support the EPA's 2008 decision to cap the site. In fall 2015, buzz arose around the landfill when the Attorney General, Chris Koster, called for action from the EPA. One EPA solution proposed pushing back for over a year. Oh, wait a minute. One proposed solution involved moving the waste from the landfill, leading the state legislators pushing back for over a year. Legislators also rallied around capping the landfill as a solution instead of lending support to Nadal Chappelle's buyout proposal. So they don't want to move the residents. These elected officials, all they want to do is tell people to sit down and shut up, and who cares if you get sick? The EPA has said that the site proposes no risk to public health, the House Conservation and Natural Resource Committee Chair Sonia Murray Anderson said in October 15. I've been to the landfill sites in Bridgeton and found them to be safe and closely monitored. I agree with many others throughout the region that they want the Westlake landfill site cleaned up with a cap without delay and for the issue to be resolved once and for all. Are you kidding me? Is this telling me that all they've done is that they haven't capped it? That's what they want to do. They want to cap it. I'm stunned by this. I thought they had capped it, but you're telling me they're going to put another cap on it. I cannot wait to talk to Don Chapman about this. This is outrageous. So they really don't care about their citizens that are living right next door to that place. There is no evidence of contamination along roads of the landfill, reads the CDC report. Fucking liars. Liars and liars are going to burn in hell. Gamma radiation continues to be indistinguishable from natural background records and were below levels of public concern, reads the 2015 Missouri Health Department Senior Services Report. In addition, the department found consistent with air monitoring for more than 2 years, all of the constituents analyzed in air surroundings were below levels of public health concern. However, Shadell has long contended that the landfill is causing area contamination, leading to health problems. When people are expletive dying, I'm going to be an alarmist, she said in October 15, yet academia continues to line up, equating the radiation from the landfill to that being less than simply being in Denver, Colorado. There are some unintended consequences of fear. What fear does is make us act in an irrational way. And we have to remember that there are different places in the United States, for example, where background radiation is much different than it is in St. Louis. Dr. Henry Royal, professor of radiology and associate director of Division of Nuclear Medicine at Washington's University School of Medicine. Washington, right, the same bastards who are selling us fucking Hanford. If you live in Denver, you're exposed to 100 milligrams of radiation more every year of your life than if you live in St. Louis. This is just malarkey. I cannot believe this is what we're up against, folks. Doctors who are willing to lie. I have a poster that says, when scientists lie, people die. This is so outrageous. This is quite a long report. I'm going to not read the whole thing. I see that we only have a few minutes. This is from the Missouri Times, January 19th. I highly recommend reading the whole article. This is just malarkey. This is just, they're trying to tell us that these people dying from cancer and having problems, physical problems, is not caused by radioactive contamination. These elected officials are the lowest form of scum, in my view, because they don't want to rock the boat. They just want to believe what they're being told and not what their eyes are seeing. The same type of people that are willing to say President Trump is right to call out the media on his very first press conference, because the media happened to talk about the fact that there was 3 times more people protesting at the Women's March than came to his inauguration, because he sucks. His cabinet members suck. On November 9th, when he was elected, I thought, well, we could live through this. Then we hear he's going to put in Bannon, who is an outright racist and a misogynist. Then we hear that he's going to put in Betsy DeVos, whose brother is Eric Prince, and who owns a company that collects on student debt. Then we hear Rex Tillerson. I mean, this is such an outrage. So people that live in Republican states, please call your senators. Everybody call their senators and say no to these people. Put your courage feet on. Take action. Lean into this. Make this movement work. There was millions of people in the street. If anybody was out there and was out there with me, like I was, lean into it. Call your elected officials. Put your courage feet on. Take action. Your voice matters. We matter. Democracy only works if you do. Put your courage feet on, you guys. We'll talk to you later.